Well, here we are, October 20th, 2022. Larissa. Oh, the crunchies in my neck. Remember, after I'd been in that accident, which was terrifying, if you've never been hit head on, 65 miles an hour, it's terrifying, you know? And I was on my way to work when, and this, it wasn't the first time. The first time I was hit head on, I was on my way home from work, right? The second time, this is what I'm talking about, the second time I was hit, I was on my way to work. It was a Friday. It was my first Friday working in downtown Pontiac at the gallery crawl. Our gallery crawls were first Friday. That's why I was working at the Uzelac Gallery. So I'd been working at the gallery for like 3 weeks, and it was the first Friday, right? And I was trying to turn left onto Huron Street. Or was that off of Huron Street onto Saginaw? Yeah, off of Huron. M59 turns into Huron, right? M59 turns into Huron in Pontiac, right at the parole office. Past the graveyard, past Clutch Cargoes, or what used to be Clutch Cargoes. And you get up to the corner there, Saginaw. Saginaw's the main street, yeah. I was turning left. And anyway, I got hit. It was terrifying. Terrifying. I saw it happening. Like, it's like, oh, there's no stopping this. Bitch, and this Bronco's barreling through this light. She came up over the curb. It was amazing. I watched her. There was a semi that was coming onto M59 from Saginaw, right? Coming out from from out near Milton and stuff. And it was a lumber truck. It was a big lumber truck. And he was stopped at that light there. And this, I mean, it's a 2-lane road, right? M59 turns into this 2-lane road, and then the 2-lane road turns into M59, which is like a 4 to 6 lane highway, right? So I'm coming off the highway, turning off the highway right there. This truck's coming on, and the light was yellow, and he was stopped. The semi was stopped, and he waved me to go, right? Because what asshole is going to come around a semi to go through a light? Evidently, this big old stupid bitch who had 2 kids and her Bronco who weren't buckled in, were playing around in the back, right? And she's barreling. Gigantic woman. She was well over 6 foot tall. I'm turning, right? And I see her come around him, drive up over the sidewalk, because the sidewalks were real wide. Drive up over the sidewalk to come around him, and she hits me. I'm already like, I was in a Mercury Tracer, and I was already on Saginaw, right? It was just, she hits the front of my car. She hits the front right of my car with her Bronco. And I spin, the back of my car takes out, there was a big stone trash can and a lamppost, a wrought iron lamppost. Took that out, and then the car spun around again around that. And it stopped. My car stopped as if I were sitting at the intersection waiting to turn. And I got out of the car. I was amazed that the door opened. The entire car was crushed except for this little pod where I was sitting and where my door, the driver's side door, was intact. And as I'm spinning, like, I had these little wire rim sunglasses. I had just gotten them. I had just bought them, little wire rim sunglasses that had like a iridescent film on the outside. They were like little John Lennon glasses, right? That's what I was wearing, these little sunglasses. This black outfit, these black heels. And the passenger side was all crushed. I could just barely grab my purse when I got out because it was sitting on the passenger seat. And this woman gets out and she is like swinging at me, literally swinging at me. You could have killed my babies. My babies weren't buckled in. What are you doing down here in Pontiac? And she's like screaming at me. Girl, what are you doing down here? I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. She's swinging. And there's like all these people out in front of the parole office. It's right next to the parole office. And this circle of people forms around me. And this woman who's swinging at me. And I'm like backing up. And there's this black cop. He's got this. And he's like, what are you doing down here? He's like, what are you doing down here? I said, I'm going to work. And he goes, what do you mean you're going to work? I said, I mean, I have a job down here. And I'm looking at my car. I'm like, oh, my car. He's like, well, don't you worry none. He says, your parents will buy you another one. So he says to me. And I look at him. I said, excuse me. I said, I'm working to pay for the car. I said, this is how I get use this car to go to school. And he's like, well, I'm sure your parents will buy you another one. He just kept saying, I'm sure your parents will buy you another one. They hadn't bought me that one. I had paid for half of it. It was $6,000 waitressing. I had paid for half of it, and my grandma had paid for the other half so I could drive down to school. Right? So anyway, I'd been in this horrible accident, almost died. This woman then, when I got out of the car, threatened me and tried to attack me. And she said, my babies, they weren't buckled in. I said, why weren't your babies buckled in? And she was like it was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then like 2 nights later, it was Sunday night dinner, sitting at the table with my entire shitty family. And we had a family friend, Mrs. Hebert, who was an occupational therapist, right? What does that mean? That means like after you've been hurt or whatever, have an injury or whatever, she helps you learn how to do the things you need to do to live your life, right? Like how to get dressed again and that kind of stuff, right? She was just a family friend. She was over for dinner, and I didn't want to talk about the accident, right? I had almost died. And my mom brought it up. Oh, Larissa was in it. Because he said something about, oh, where's your car, Larissa? Because I'd only had the car like 4 months, right? 4 or 5 months, something like that. And my mom's like, oh, Larissa was in another accident. And my sister Rachel is sitting to my right. She's like, yeah. She looks at me. She goes, Larissa doesn't know how to drive. And I was just like, I'm being berated in front of someone at the dinner table after I almost died. And this is how my family treated me. I punched my sister in the arm. My mom flipped out. Get away from my table. That's not how we act. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. I wish that bitch had fucking killed me. Y'all would have been happier and better off. That is how my family treats me. That's how my family treats me. Anyway, it was after that accident that I did the physical therapy. Because later on, Mrs. Hebert, she came up to my room. You know, I got sent to my room. I'm in fucking college. I get sent to my room. Oh my God. Horrible parents. She comes up to talk to me and she's like, have you seen a doctor yet? And I said, no. She's like, do you hurt? I was like, yes. Fucking neck pain. And the insurance only covered that 6 months. And that bitch fucking sued my insurance. Because I was turning left. The truck fucking took off. Why would any Teamster fucking sit around? Right? Not in Pontiac. He would have gotten fucking robbed. Traction. Traction was amazing. The physical therapist, I can't remember her name, but I can see her face. She had a short asymmetric bob, it's like shorter on one side and a little bit longer on the other, and her bangs were brushed over, and it's kind of like she had strawberry blonde hair, real thick, and she had some freckles across her nose. She put me in the traction machine, right? It was this thing I'd laid on this table. Oh, first we did trigger point therapy, right? First we do trigger point therapy. Well, no, very first thing we would do is work on the machines on range of motion, and then she'd know where she needed to do the trigger point therapy, and then we do traction last. And so we do these things on these machines. They weren't like regular gym machines; they were different. And then get on this table, and she would do the trigger point therapy, and she had this tool, and she would use her thumb first and find the spots on my back and my neck, and then use this tool and press into them, like, because she said they were like, it was like, and it was like 45 minutes of trigger point therapy, and then 45 minutes to an hour of traction after that. And I would just cry. I remember the first time I cried when she did it. She's like, "Does it hurt? Does it hurt?" She like starts to undo the traction machine. You lay on the table and you put your head in this thing, and it clamps. It has this cushion, and it clamps around, fits around your head, and then it pulls, right? Like the thing would crank it, and it like pulls your neck apart. And I cried and cried, and she was all upset. I said, no. I said, just when you do that, it doesn't hurt anymore. It takes all, and I just cried because the pain was gone. Like, oh. Parents didn't give a shit that I almost died. It was just an inconvenience now that this woman was suing me. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the way my family treats me. There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah, that's the way they treat me. That didn't happen. That's what they say. It didn't happen. Okay, it didn't happen. It's like crazy making, right? Totally crazy making. Let me tell you something that didn't happen that totally happened. All right. I had to drive still during all of that. During all of that. Because it started off, it was physical therapy 3 times a week, and then twice a week, and then once a week, and then once every other week, right? It was tapered off. I needed more than that, but that's what the insurance covered, right? So, but during that time, I had to fit that into my school schedule and my work schedule. And I was working full time. It wasn't one full time job. I had like 3 part time jobs. Yeah, it was only 3 part time jobs at that point. I didn't work 4 part time jobs until my junior year. That's when I picked up the shop tech job. I had a dream about shop teching last night. I did. I had a dream about shop teching last night. That's funny. Yeah, I had a dream that's wild. I had a dream last night that I was working as shop tech down at CCS again. I did. I worked was it 1 or 2 shifts a week? I worked 2 shifts a week, and I worked the midnight to 2 a.m. shift. The shop was open, like if they had a tech, right? And the shop was open, and then students could come in and work at that time. Oh, I remember. Like, I think I was working Tuesday nights. Was it Tuesday nights and Thursday nights? No, not Thursday nights, because I had class real early Friday morning. It might have been Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. No, it was Tuesday night and Friday night. Tuesday night and Friday night were the nights I worked, midnight to 2. And there was somebody else that worked. There was the Saturday and the Thursday, and they had brought in a TV and they were watching porn on the nights. Was it Josh Epps that was working shop tech, or was it Rich from over in blacksmithing? I remember. Nobody ever came in, or people rarely came in when I was shop teching. Rarely. But the other nights, like, they'd have parties. Nobody came in the nights I was working. Because people knew that I was there to work, and that if they pulled that kind of garbage, I would have said something. Because I remember when it, like, when everybody got in trouble for it, like, they knew I wasn't there because I was only there on the other nights. And so nobody had talked to me about it. And I was, one of my, was it Erica? Who said to me, she goes, "Did you hear about it?" And I'm like, "Hear about what?" She's like, "The porn." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, they brought in a TV and they were watching porn during shop tech hours." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they were ordering pizza and watching porn." I'm like, "What?" Yeah. No, the nights when I worked, if anybody came in, it was guys out of industrial design that were taking electives. Usually I was there all by myself, down in that shop from midnight to 2. Got a lot of work done. I had to lie to my mom. I think my shift actually started at 11. It was 11 to 2. First time I drove down there. So, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to work." Ugh. Mm-mm. So I saw Liz Truss resign. If I were Liz Truss, I wouldn't stay on. I'd say up yours. Up yours, you bunch of wankers. That's what I'd say. Because, so they elected her, and then they treat her like shit, and it's just like, okay, you elected her. See, the problem is they've done that whole Brexit thing over there. And so now they got to figure out how to keep businesses around, right? Businesses want, and their whole economy, their big welfare economy, right? There's so many people in England who the only income they have is from the state. And then they had all these immigrants coming in to do all the other work, right? Well, not anymore, because they didn't want all them immigrants coming in, right? Similar kind of thing is what's going on in France, right? And people are mad because, of course, there's crime with undocumented population. How could there not be? Is it because undocumented people or migrant peoples are inherently criminal? No, it's because they're inherently vulnerable and they're coming from situations that are obviously, bereft or violent, and become a mark, right? Become a mark. And there's a lot of, just seediness. France. There's a place in France where the naked ladies dance and they climb up poles. You can see their hiney holes. There's a hole in the wall where the boys can watch it all. Oh my God. Oh my God. And some weirdo made some comment on somebody called Satie classical. I'm like, it's jazz. And it's like, oh, it's African American classical. And I'm just like, what? First of all, while it is accurate to say that in early jazz movement in the United States, that jazz was predominantly performed and composed by Black artists, it's not the case in Europe. And jazz was not a phenomena that was unique to America. American jazz is different than European jazz, and European jazz predates American jazz. It's kind of like the arts and crafts movement, right? European jazz, frequently called gypsy jazz, which, like, I really don't like that word as a person with gypsy heritage, right? I don't like that word because we don't call it N-word jazz over here, right? Same damn thing. Same damn thing. This person not even using their damn name, calling themselves Alpha. Anybody who calls themselves Alpha, was it is it Amanda is it Amanda Thunderfuck who has that song Nice Car? Sorry about your penis. Oh my gosh. Now, classical music talks talks about music that was made during a certain time period, right? We're talking about Baroque classical, Rococo classical, Renaissance classical, medieval classical. It connotes a certain antiquity to the music, right? And then you have contemporary classical, which is more, modern kind of stuff, modernly written, which has an aesthetic that is similar, right? Or inspired by classical music, but it's still not the same thing, right? Because even among classical music, you think of arias and opera. Arias are considered classical music. However, arias were pop music, right? These were the short little ditties that they were singing in the opera that people were singing in the street kind of thing. Like, it was popular music, right? It was pop music, right? That it's now considered classical because of the time period with it, when it was made. This fool's trying to call it like whatever. That is just some fucking bullshit. You think black people cannot appreciate classical music? You think black people didn't play classical music? You think there weren't any black people that played classical music back when classical music was being made? You really think that? You really think that? And besides, like, so there have been black people in Europe from that were, for a long time, who then immigrated to the United States. You can't call them African American. They're not from Africa. Elon Musk is African American. My father-in-law was African American. He was born in Africa. He came to the United States. Now he's African Canadian. He had Canadian citizenship. Oh my God. All this bullshit. People are so preoccupied with skin color. It's dumb. It really is dumb. It really is dumb. And besides, like, you don't necessarily know what somebody is just by looking at them because you don't know what people's ancestry is, right? You can't help the way you're born looking, right? Oh, unless you're a Kardashian, then you can just cut yourself up or cut up your kids or whatever. Stupid. Totally stupid. Contemporary jazz, same thing. And then there's avant-garde jazz and different genres of jazz. No, jazz is not classical music. It's not the same thing. If you're saying that to indicate level of difficulty or intricacy, that's just stupid too. Jazz is very, very challenging, right? Learning any genre of music that um, has a different structure, right? A unique structure. Like even when I was learning Latin American music, when I was singing mariachi and other stuff, right? Singing, cantering the Spanish Mass or whatever, and particularly in cantering the Spanish Mass because like the different psalms and songs and stuff are done in styles of different types of Latin American music, and they are while they while to the untrained ear they may all sound similar, they are very different, particularly when you're playing them. And like, talk about cumbia music, starts on a different beat, right? So there's like and and right when you're playing that or working that, and it's different, you know where's the emphasis? Is it on the upstroke or the downstroke? um, whether you're talking about the guitar strum or of the intonation of the note, and then when does sound begin? All of these things are, yeah. Anyway, this asshole trying to, oh, you don't understand what I'm saying to you. I'm like, no, you don't understand what you're saying. He's like, oh, I'm guessing it's a he. I mean, how many women would write alpha, use alpha as their like, who you alpha of? Dumb. Dumb. Mm. Oh. Liz Truss, seriously, you should go tell them all to go fuck themselves. Go have a spa day, baby. Go have a spa day. All that Brexit bullshit, and now nobody wants to deal with the consequences of Brexit, right? That's really what the problem is. All those countries are tiny in the size of our states, and in order to compete on a similar trade level to countries like the United States or Russia or China that are so big geographically and have so many territories, right? All those states or all those nations had to come together. All those countries had to come together to form the European Union, right? To be an on par trade partner. Well, the UK said no. We don't want to do that anymore. But can they really support themselves doing that? Can Europe remain competitive and free and keep all those little countries? Hmm? And not be, torn by warring warlords like Africa, right? Here comes Putin. Here comes Putin. Crazy motherfucker. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, and then there's this Tulsi Gabbard over here, yapping her trap. And I don't necessarily disagree with stuff that she has to say, but I can't trust her because she's a Democrat. I wouldn't trust her if she's a Republican either. I'm just saying, right? Like, it's just a ploy. She's going to run for president again. And she might get the nomination this time, right? You really think the Democrats are going to give Joe Biden the nomination? I mean, he can run again as incumbent. Is that really his prerogative? Is he going to run again? Are the Democrats really going to run him again? I don't think he has a snowball's chance in hell of winning again. I don't. So here comes Miss Tulsi with her pretty hairs, right? All done up. But I can't trust her because she's a Democrat. And they have a history of like saying what people want to hear and then doing something else when they get in office. Or just towing the same fucking line once they get in office. Oh, I know what a Republican's going to do. Republicans come after women's rights because they want women in the kitchen or getting plastic surgery. That's what they want women doing. In the kitchen, making babies or getting plastic surgery. Right? That's what they want. Now, I'd like to start a new party, Constitutional Common Sense Party. Because libertarians get on my nerves too. Right? All the libertarians out there that you see, with the exception of Jesse Ventura, who you don't really hear much about, right? The libertarians that you hear about, the ones that are out there, squeaky wheels, right? They're just out there stirring the pot, right? How's Gary Johnson up to? What you up to, Gary? What are you and Bill up to? Ugh. I voted for you, Gary. I voted for you. I did. I voted for you, Gary. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to run anymore. I don't blame him. The last time he said, at the end of this election, I'll either be in high office or I'll be high in my office. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Gary. mm. Mm. Some people, they're still crazy with the reefer madness bullshit. Crazy about it. Oh, you're degenerate. You're degenerate. I was on a chat and made some comment about my tea. Some hassle. Can we keep the degenerate talk off of here? There's kids. Oh, okay. I remember that next time you're voting for Trump, grabbing women by the pussy. There's kids around here. He's dirty. He's dirty. He's dirty. He's real dirty. Mm-hmm. Trump is trash. Total trash. Stealing classified documents and keeping them in his house. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Winner. No. I don't think so. Oh. There's really no options, right? There's no good options for leadership. Liz Truss. Your party elects you and then treats you like shit. Wow. Watching clips of Parliament, like, seriously. Crazy. And then I watched Marie Le Pen make her comments about that dead girl, right? And some short-haired, stick-up-her-ass bitch stands up. She's like, oh, please, respect for the family. It's just like, What about respect for the dead little girl? Oh, she doesn't matter. She doesn't matter. She's dead now. Right. I'm not calling myself a Le Pen supporter. I'm not French. It doesn't, I don't get to vote in that. But, you know, she's talking about, crime among undocumented people. Yeah. Yeah. Something does need to be done about that, huh? Oh my gosh. Gasoline prices. Biden releasing oil from the oil reserve. Right? Really? Really, Joe? You afraid of what's happening in France going to happen here too? Oh, but electric cars. Where's all that electricity going to come from? Where's it going to come from? Start plugging your cars into cows' asses and let them fart into the electricity cord? Is that how that works? Where's the electricity going to come from? Oh, wind. Oh, solar. Oh, really? Because solar production is so high? Really? Really? Hmm. Crimea? What's Crimea about? What's Ukraine about? Oh, we can't talk about that in America. Can't talk about it. Can't talk about that. Justin Trudeau. When are those thorium reactors going to be done in Canada? When are those slated to be finished? Where are you going to get your thorium from? What thorium mine? You going to sell any of that to U.S.? The electricity? How much you going to charge? How much you going to charge for that? Where'd you put them? Where are they being built? Where are those? Where are those reactors being built in Canada? Where? That wasn't. I didn't read that in any of the articles, and I haven't seen anything since I saw those articles. Right, and that was like a number of years ago. But there was some scientist who I chatted with who said, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're building those." Where? He wouldn't tell me. They near Alaska. They in Manitoba. What's in Manitoba? Maple syrup. Hockey. Is there hockey in Manitoba? Or we gotta say Womanitoba now. So I took my sewing machine in yesterday. Guy was really weird. He was like, he kept on like rubbing his face through his mask. He was wearing this mask, and then he like writes stuff. He writes stuff on the ticket, and then tears the end off the ticket to give me the pickup ticket. Uses it to scratch his ear, and then hands it to me. Ew! What would you have done? I grabbed it close to his hand. Like yuck. What is that about? Is this still some joke because I made that video that one time where I picked my nose? Like, is that still what this is about? Like, one time? Because, like, my shit gets copied and taken, but I don't get to have any kind of success about anything, right? Hmm? I hate California. I hate living in the United States. I just hate everything now. My husband, he doesn't share anything with me. He tells me last night that his mom's been calling, leaving him messages. It's like, why wouldn't he share that with me? Why doesn't he tell me? Because I'm not really part of his life, right? He doesn't view me as an equal. That's the way his father treated his mother. She was never an equal. I don't get treated like an equal. Not at all. And I'm miserable. Comes to his mother. I really, really. She just makes me really angry. We dated for 2 years before we got married. So we've been together a total of 24 years. That woman has never, ever been anything but a pain in everyone's ass. Never. She has never, ever contributed anything beautiful, helpful, or loving. Never. She has never been anything but mean and nasty and backhanded. Even when she seems like she's being sweet and kind, it's not. It is trying to garner favor for something she's trying to manipulate out of you. Unpacking her stuff when I had to go through her stuff out of that storage unit, I had rash all over my arms and chest from digging through those boxes because of her filth. And what were we supposed to do? She wouldn't let us in the house that she was renting. She would only let the Filipino woman in. And the Filipino woman's like, oh, you got to do something. You got to do something. What the hell am I supposed to do? She won't let us in. I called Adult Protective Services. They did nothing. They did nothing. They fought with me about it. We knew she had the dementia. She's had the dementia diagnosis since shortly after she moved out to Santa Rosa when we were up in Santa Rosa. So that's been over a decade now. Right? You know, the police were picking her up, driving around with no pants on, walking around out, finding her out by the dumpster at the apartment complex where she was living with no pants on. What was that about? Like, the apartment full of poop because she had squirreled away all of Muhammad's OxyContin. Oh my God. Well, she's not getting any stationery for Christmas this year. Anyway. Anyway,